Important note before we get on with the show. While yes, part of the script I wrote did happen after Very Paradox's release, this will not contain any spoilers for the mission or any of the content that came out with it, with the exception of one arcane that came out with it. So unless you care about knowing what that arcane is, you're completely fine to proceed without playing the update. Hey, welcome to my Warframes Where They Are Now series, a little series I've had brewing in the back of my mind since the early days of Warframe, quote unquote. I'm going to put this little intro at the beginning of every video in this series. If you've heard this once or more, feel free to skip it. This is just my opinion and is not guaranteed to be fact. Remember, with Warframe, everyone plays at least a little different from each other. That's why there's 52 frames as of making this intro. Of course. That being said, I do plan on being as objective as I can with this series. But bias will always be a potential problem, and will definitely shine through in certain episodes, if not all. Now, that being said, I hope you enjoy the series. April 20th, 2023, the date is to show which version of Ash Prime we're looking at. Ah, Ash, the actual ninja in the game which has the tagline, "Ninjas play for free." I don't know why, but I've always found it amusing that he's the only ninja. Ash is actually pretty kick-ass, and that's coming from somebody who used to hate him. Don't get me wrong, I was being a dumbass and didn't understand how his fourth worked for a long time, and just wouldn't send in the shadow clones. Sometimes I have exactly 3 brain cells, I swear to God. Base stats on Ash Prime are 175 armor, 150 energy, 450 health, 375 shields, and 1.2 sprint speed. Honestly, not bad starting out. The only real gripe I have is I wish they'd give him a bit more energy at base. 425 energy with primed flow is uncomfortably low, though I do acknowledge that I hardly ever run out of energy with him. His passive increases bleed damage and duration, which is just fucking awesome, especially since the meta has been heat/and viral for quite some time now. That, and it works with his first and fourth, so bonus points for synergy. His first ability is Shuriken. It's not great. It does apply slash, so there's that at least, but other than that, it's pretty weak. The augment for it does actually give it a decent use as it strips armor of the target, which does come in handy for Steel Path, though I haven't bothered with it since I focus primarily on the second and fourth abilities. The second ability, Smokescreen, makes Ash invisible for a short time and reduces the cost of marking his targets for his fourth ability. The 8-second duration kinda hurts on that one, if I'm being honest. However, typically when I'm using it, I already have fourth active, so I just run through a crowd as fast as possible and we're good. His third ability, Teleport. Yeah, I gotta be honest, I helmeted off. It does open enemies to finishers, but honestly, if I want that, I just use the Zakti Prime with a second. That, and call me a dumbass if you will, but before I had the helmet, every time I'd use that ability, it got me killed. Granted, I was playing on Steel Path, but still. As for his fourth ability, Bladestorm, this is the only reason I play Ash, frankly. And from what I gather, I'm not alone in this. Ash marks enemies and then summons in his shadow clones to delete said enemies from existence. When it comes to this ability, combo count actually does play a big factor in the strength of the ability. It gets a 3.75 times multiplier at 12 times combo multiplier. As for my build, you can see I run mostly strength with a small bit of range and duration. I run Steel Charge as it does actually strengthen his fourth ability, and Arcane Reaper is just fucking nuts on him. Mainly because the fourth ability does charge the combo counter, making it easier to use. I absolutely cannot wait to have an R5 of that Arcane. It gives you health regeneration and armor on melee kill if you're like, what the fuck is this? As for weapon synergies, there is one that comes to mind, and that is the Venka Prime. It can get to a 13 times combo, which means 4 times damage boost for Ash's fourth. That, and as it stands, it's actually a pretty decent weapon if you don't mind claw stances. Ash is terrible for a squad, but he's a solid solo frame. He was actually my third Steel Path build, my first being Zaku, my second being Equinox. He definitely aged a bit, but his fourth ability is still keeping him quite useful and overall just a blast to use. I primarily use him for missions where mass killing is necessary and I'm in the mood to use him, such as Exterminate, Survival, and on occasion Sanctuary Onslaught. Though admittedly for that last one not as much since I don't really do Onslaught that often. Only time I did it actively was to get the Lado Vandal in preparation for Taviri. Didn't go well, the platinum I spent will not be missed though. And as always, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.